So what are we going to be talking about today?
I don't think it matters because it's a drinking video and people are going to watch to see where the fuck it goes. By all critical metrics, DMC is a perfectly serviceable action game that had middling commercial success. According to fans of the original game series it was based on though, Devil May Cry, it was a video game equivalent of a wet fart. Something developers of DMC initially dismissed. Initially.
So let's stick to our usual formula. Introduce this bit by telling us what Devil May Cry is.
Well, Devil May Cry is a series of action games that start a character with a dick that is 3 miles long. DMC is a reboot of that series that is none of those things.
Sounds like it's going to get really confusing considering that the games both have the same name and have the same character.
Yes, especially given that this is a drinking video. So DMC, for the most part, is going to be referring to, like, the reboot. And when I refer to old Dante, that's the original Big Dick Dante, and new Dante is Small Dick Dante, as the game itself admits. Because there is a scene in DMC where Dante is having shit-talking his brother Virgil, and Virgil says, "I've got a bigger dick."
And I got a bigger dick.
And he has no comeback to that. Which means that Dante canonically has a smaller dick than his twin.
So Karl, describe old Dante.
Okay, old Dante is a fucking badass. And as I mentioned, he's a guy with a dick that's 3 miles long, an impossibly sweet red leather coat, white hair, and twin handguns that he can fire at 30,000 RPM.
So his appearance sounds pretty cool. What's he like as an actual person?
An affable dumbass who never really tries and is effortlessly cool in everything he does. Generally though, he's just a super awesome nice guy you'd kind of want to grab a drink with, which goes all the way back to the very first game and an ethos handed down by one of the guys who had a hand in creating him as a character, Hideki Kamiya, who said that Dante is like a stereotypically clean-cut hero. He doesn't smoke, he doesn't drink, he's not disrespectful to people. And his reasoning for that is that Dante is simply too cool to do any of those things. He can't do anything without looking cool. He can't even sit down. We've discussed it before, he does Commander Riker-esque combos to his chair just to sit the fuck down. The guy can't even eat pizza without looking like a badass. It's awesome. So as is tradition, Brad, I need to open my next beer. Can you pass me something stupid from around the room to open it with, please?
Stupid.
Yes.
What about some multivitamins?
Let's go. Multivitamins can be used to open a beer. Of course they can. Yep. Always get my 5 a day.
So old Dante sounds pretty cool.
Well, by design as well, because the idea is that he's effortlessly awesome and cool in everything that he does, by virtue of the fact he's half demon. Oh yeah, I should mention, Dante is half demon in the original Devil May Cry series. He's a half demon who is born from a human mother, because his dad was a big dick demon knight. He was like, you know what? Fuck, hell. I want to get some of this earth booty, and just assumes human form, bangs an earth woman, and she gives birth to twin sons, Dante and Virgil, and they fight in the rain, and it's fucking sick.
Alright, so new Dante.
Yes. Oh, we can call him Dino. Dante in name only. That's the name fans came up with. In the vein of Gino, Godzilla in name only for the shit creature from the 1998 Godzilla movie.
I'm happy we're sticking with Dino.
Okay, we'll go with Dino then.
Alright, so what...
Or Dante, that's another one. Dante.
What does he look like?
A meth head.
Well,
we did originally, and then they toned down his design, and now he's like an angsty teenage edgelord. Because if people don't know, in 2010, despite Devil May Cry 4 doing quite well commercially, Capcom, the publisher, decided, you know what, let's reboot this Devil May Cry shit. So they approached a company called Ninja Theory and tasked them with redesigning Dante for a Western audience. And this is what they came up with.
My name is Dante.
And that was the very first clip they put out of there's the redesigned Dante, and the backlash was so severe they toned down how he looked and made him look like this instead in the games. But even still, it's a radical departure from what Dante originally looked like, but it's better compared to this dipshit.
So what was the thought process behind Ninja Theory? How did they go from what is obviously the much cooler Dante
Yes.
to that guy?
Well, the answer, Brad, is Fight Club.
As in Fight Club the film?
Yes, because you see, when Ninja Theory were tasked with, like, you know, making a more Western Dante, they sat down and brainstormed about, like, the differences between, like, you know, Eastern and Western ideals of cool. And there is a fucking phenomenal, like, slideshow presentation they did about these differences. And they highlight specifically Tyler Durden as the quintessential, like, you know, icon of Western cool.
And he's just a cool guy, sexy as well. So the key point were, yeah, so cool, Western, grounded, stylish. This is what we were looking for.
Because who doesn't want to look up to, like, you know, a hyper macho posturing dickhead who beats people up in car parks? Not to mention as well, he's a terrorist. So, the quintessential icon of American cool. Terrorist.
They made a bit of a misstep with that, but you can't argue that there are not differences between what's perceived as cool in different cultures.
Oh yeah, and that's what that presentation was all about, because what Ninja Theory did is they helpfully photoshopped old Dante into various pictures to show why he's not cool. Like this picture that they genuinely put out of old Dante, you know, photoshopped into a scene from Brokeback Mountain. And I'm sure there is no ulterior subtext to putting that message out there and that image and we're saying this is why this character isn't cool. In a film predominantly known for being a film about gay cowboys.
Well, maybe they didn't mean that.
So it's also as well, because Dante, old Dante at least, I feel wouldn't give a fuck. It's like, I get the feeling like old Dante, if you told him you were gay, would be like, I don't care, let's get some pizza. New Dante, I think he'd have some other words to say, given that his most iconic line in that series is "fuck you!"
Fuck you! Fuck you!
It just sounds like they tried to make him like super edgy.
Yeah, and that's what I think's so hilarious about it, because it's so obviously try-hard edge, and it immediately dates the game, because this is so obviously from the 2010s, and I just want to use it as a jumping off point. Brad, what is your favourite edgelord character in video games?
The first one that comes to mind is Reaper.
Reaper, oh man.
He is just edgelord definition.
The Skull Lord himself. Have you ever seen Reaper names on Twitter? Basically, someone just like screenshot when a Reaper gets to play the game or whatever, and it's all the names that people have when they play Reaper. And it's like, yeah, Skull Lord 420 all day. That's all well and good though, Brad, but we all know the edgiest of edgelords is Shadow the fucking Hedgehog. It will never be topped. Like, you cannot be Edgy the Hedgy in terms of edginess.
Edgy the Hedgy?
That's his name. Because that game is so try-hard, it actually goes all the way around to being fucking awesome. It's one of those things that it's like, it's so far in one direction, it breaks the dial and goes back to the beginning and starts becoming awesome again.
The funniest thing I find about Shadow the Hedgehog is that for some reason people keep pairing him with Shrek.
Shadow and Shrek.
I don't know why.
Yeah, why not?
So there was a lot of backlash to the redesign of Dante.
Yeah, understandably so. It's a well-established character with a lot of fans, but what's less understandable though is the seeming just like vitriol directed back at fans by Ninja Theory, with a quote from someone like developing the game saying, "We don't care about fan feedback." You know, despite the fact that they immediately backtracked on that early design of Dante because everyone said he looked like a dick. But no, they said, "Oh no, we don't care that the fans don't like this new redesign," despite the fact the game is supposedly appealing to these fans.
There was a lot of backlash, but
Yes.
fair play to them for at least sticking to their guns and trying to make the game that they wanted to make.
Well, yeah, and they did do that right up until it didn't make them any money. Because as I mentioned at the start of this piece, DMC didn't sell all that well. In fact, it sold less copies than Devil May Cry 4. The game that sold so poorly, Capcom felt the need to reboot the entire franchise. And what they did is they released a definitive edition of DMC that fixed a lot of complaints, like gameplay-wise. And they're all well and good, but it's the changes that they didn't announce that make you realise, yeah, they realised how dated and shitty and edgy this game was, because there are some fucking brilliant ones.
So what makes these unannounced changes so great?
Because they're so minor in nature that they actually had nothing to do with the game itself, and you can tell they were made specifically because they were embarrassed by them. For example, there is an exchange in the original version of the game where one character says to the big final boss guy,
The world is at last your bitch, as am I. Nothing left but to grab it by the hair, bend it over, and... What's the matter?
because you know, edge, and they cut that line out. And that's mean it's a single line of dialogue, but the fact they cut out a single line of dialogue tells you that they were embarrassed by it. Because if it would have been the entire scene, that would be okay. But no, it's one line of dialogue that they edited around. And when a games journalist asked a representative from Ninja Theory, why did you cut this line? The guy went, oh, it was for pacing issues.
Sure it was.
Yeah, a single line of dialogue was for pacing issues. Bear in mind, that quote was given by the guy who wrote the story to the game.
There's got to be more petty changes they made.
Oh yeah, they edited the scene with the 360 quickscope abortion.
The what?
Yeah, I know what I said.
I
I
don't know what you said.
That's an accurate description of what happens in that scene. Long story short, there is a female character in the game who is going to give birth to the evil big demon's baby, and your brother in game, the hero that he is, decides to stop this by shooting her in the back when she's unarmed through the stomach with a sniper rifle.
Fuck.
And they cut that.
No, they edited it. It's still in, but they edited it to make it to make his motivations more clear, which is ironic because the most famous line of dialogue Virgil ever gives is, "I'm motivated." So, yeah, now I'm motivated. It's like 360 demon abortion with a sniper rifle.
So Karl, let's talk about the hat.
The hat, yes, and this is my favourite change. I think it's emblematic of the game as a whole. In the original DMC game, your brother Virgil spends the entire time wearing a fedora. And in the remastered version, the definitive edition, they remove the fedora. It's never explained, no one's ever talked about it, save for a few scant references to them always hating it, which to me just sounds like the kind of thing someone would say if they tried to wear a fedora thinking it was cool. People made fun of them, and then afterwards say, oh no, I always hated it, my girlfriend told me, thought it looked cool. I know it's a minor thing, but that's what I find so funny about it. The fact that they genuinely thought the look that is most widely mocked online of a guy wearing a fedora with a long leather trench coat and a katana was actually cool, because that's what Virgil is in that game. He's that guy. He's that guy who poses with a katana and a trilby on, just saying, yeah, challenge me to a debate, motherfuckers. He's that guy. They thought that guy was cool.
So is that it for changes, or are there any other ones, maybe like one that you actually like?
Oh, one that I do like is that they put in a skin for Dante that makes him look like Dante from Devil May Cry 1, called Classic Dante.
Yes, they did.
And that's especially hilarious because there is a scene in that game that made it into the definitive edition where a wig blows onto the head of new Dante. It's like a long flowing white wig. So he says to the audience, never in a million years.
Not in a million years.
3 years later, they release a skin where you can play as that Dante, and that scene still plays. As angry as I was at the time, though, when that happened, I love that in Devil May Cry 5, they've taken the high road. And do you remember that jab that they said about, oh yeah, Dante would never work in a Western? Do you know one of the weapons that Dante has in the new Devil May Cry? A cowboy hat that fires meteors. Get fucked, Ninja Theory.
What do you reckon we should talk about this last bit?
Well, since we're talking about Devil May Cry and games of that ilk, maybe we should talk about the fact that you keep cutting out my references to Transformers Devastation.
Oh god, not again.
Fuck's sake, this bastard here has cut out the same reference 3 times now, because I want it to be known. And he's going to put it in now, or he's fucking fired. Because for 3 videos now, I've made reference to the same part of that game. And it's the part where you are tasked with defeating Starscream in space. And your mission objective is show Starscream some true Autobot justice.
I put a bit of music in from that.
But you didn't put the right bit of the song in. That's the problem. And I told Brad it's got a really good intro to a song, and he put the wrong bit in.
You know what? Put it on now.
I want to put that on. Fucking put it on right now.
If, go on, if I'm not getting it right, put on the bit you want to talk about.
Where is it now? YouTube. I don't know how you keep messing this. But I'm going to turn this volume up. You're going to listen to this fucking soundtrack. Where is it? Where's my volume? Yeah! That fucking soundtrack, man. Lost in space, Autobots! Oh, so cool! So fun. Then that bit. How do you not think that's the hypest shit ever?
I don't know which specific bit is the bit that you want, like...
It's the intro, like then the drums kick in.
So when it first comes in?
Yeah!
Because I found the bit of the song that had, like, the riff in it. That's what I thought.
No! It's this bit, Brad. It's this specific bit right here, look. It's the introduction. The drop! Fucking nuclear drop! Starscream badass! Oh man, it gets me hype every time. Go play that game, it's fucking awesome. And he keeps cutting it. You see, Brad, you cut out that moment of hype 3 times. You should apologise. I got that hype every time, and then when I watched the video back, thinking, oh, I wonder if it made it into this video, so people can see my excitement of this genuinely awesome part of a video game that I really enjoy and want to talk about. And Brad cuts it out. So we've not even talked yet about the soundtrack from Devil May Cry 5. Because I was getting too worked up talking about fucking Dino. Because Devil May Cry 5, the soundtrack for each character, they get their own. And the one for Nero, Devil Trigger, is so fucking hype. And there's a great system. It's probably the only worthwhile thing they've taken from DMC, which is the better your combo is, the louder the music becomes. So when you are doing a Smoking Six style combo on an enemy, the music blares all the way in and overpowers every other sound effect. And you just hear this sick, awesome, just dance fucking rock remix of a song. It's great. But it's hilarious to me because video game journalists who are historically not great at playing video games, I think we can admit, me and Brad have talked before, the Doom one. The guy from Polygon who was given exclusive access to Doom and does that thing that your mum does when she tries to play Halo, walks forward, then aims.
Yeah, can't you move both sticks at once?
But loads of reviewers have been like, oh yeah, Devil May Cry 5 is good, but the music's a bit muted. It's not as bombastic as it was in previous games. Yeah, this guy can't play. This guy can't do a good combo. That's why the music sucks. So I can ignore his review because he wasn't playing it properly. It's great. It's the idea. Because you can imagine now, if that happened in Transformers Devastation, I'd still be playing it today for that moment. Because when you land if I could land a drop kick as fucking Optimus Prime on Megatron and that song kicked in, that'd be Game of the Year every year for me forever. Because that's the sickest shit ever.